What is happening, Mr. Mark Willie? How are you today?
Dave, it's BS Friday Live on Dave Cooper Live. Happy
It
Friday to
is.
you, Dave Cooper.
Yeah, happy Friday to you as well. Do you ever catch yourself kind of dancing in the background during the intros? I almost got caught.
I was dancing from the bathroom and from the coffee pot over to here.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, it's funny, man. I like lately with kids, I've been thinking about you a lot, because I'm always using my Thor glass, and I would imagine this is it's almost a picture of you, with your beard, maybe last year when we, started this whole deal.
I think a couple more bags under my eyes than Thor's, brother.
I love it. I love it. Hey, guess what, Mark? We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And why are we on Twitch, Mark?
Because Greg Ugalde is always moving things forward, and he introduced us to Twitch. That's what our industry needs, and that's what our future of our industry needs.
Oh, you gotta love Greg Ugalde. And speaking of Greg Ugalde, and speaking of Jerry McCahey, we have Jerry McCahey next Friday. But we have Jerry McCahey back to back because Jerry's back on the show Monday with Greg Ugalde, with our friend Henry Mickelberg and others, because we're going to talk about why has offsite not taken off the way people expect it to take off, or isn't it? Is it cost? I don't know. So we're going to have the immediate past chairman, who is still the chairman of the National Association of Home Builders. We're talking all the way to the top, coming on our show to have a real discussion on where the industry is heading, and is offsite healthier, greener, passive house building, design, living part of the future of housing, which we already know it is.
You know what's interesting, Dave? I seem to think we've had that conversation 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 times. And yesterday you had it as well. It was brilliant. And boy, I got a challenge. You ready, brother?
I love challenges, man. Go ahead. I'm not doing like 1,000 push-ups, though.
How about Jerry comes on for coffee with Dave tomorrow, so you can have Jerry 3 days in a row.
I don't know if the world could take Jerry 3 days in a row, or three times in a row. You know how hard it is on this show, that show with Jerry, Greg, Henry Mickelberg, and others. How hard that's going to be to contain the time and the people, because they all have big personalities. They all have big ideas. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I've been working on how I do rules, and I'm looking for the big gong so I can hit the gong.
So Dave, the secret is 1 thumbs up, you're doing good. 2 thumbs up, you got to wrap it up.
That's right. That's right. We know that. All right. Speaking of thumbs up, we have a great guest today, Mark. I mean, everybody always thinks about lumber and wood and building, but a whole lot of people aren't spending too much time thinking about, the connectors, the house wrap, all the other little pieces. What is it? Don't they say there's like 1 million little pieces in every home when you really think about it? And it's just not wood and asphalt and vinyl siding either.
Right. Our friend Stephen Basic, who kicked the year off with us, Dave, he says there's 1,000 questions to be answered. Right.
That's right.
And that's why we pull from people that often come from different parts of the world with great experience, with great outlook, and our success time is shortened because of that sharing. Right? It's something you and I embrace, and we tend to embrace the people that also embrace it.
I know it. And we're going to do that today. All right, everybody. Dave Cooper Live. We are bringing you the people and the processes that are building it better. Our guests include experts in building systems to building science. Let me say it one more time. Building science, Mark. Building codes and the tech used to build it better. And today is no different. Today we have the ultimate pleasure of having a CEO on the show. Hans is going to be on. How do you say his name? Hannes Blaas. Do I say it right? Hannes Blaas, I'm going to get it all wrong, from Rotho Blaas, USA, on to talk. Mark, do an intro, my friend.
We're blessed, Dave. Gosh, I already forgot what episode this is. Our 40-something episode. We've discussed membranes before. We've certainly discussed the power of connections. Get it? Connections. And Hannes I got the pleasure to meet a few years back virtually, right? Because I don't travel. But his company has made an amazing advancement again and again in North America, using their momentum from the solutions they've caused. So come on, brother. Join the microphone. Turn your camera on.
I love it. Welcome to the show, Hannes. Glad to have you today.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Mark. Glad to be here.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, Hannes, we're going to jump right into this. I mean, we kind of alluded a little bit about what you do, but on this show, we ask everybody to tell us a little bit about themselves. So we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. And do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, because if you do, Mark, Bare Naked Willie, will call your mother to get the scoop. And we're going to bring her on then. Nah, just kidding. Listen, man, you got about 2-3 minutes. Go ahead. Tell us a little bit about who you are. Talk about the company. And then we're going to hop into the show. All right?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm Hannes with Rotho Blaas. I have been with Rotho Blaas now a total of 6 years. I am from a little place in northern Italy called South Tyrol. It's called South Tyrol, but it's in the north of Italy, but south of Tyrol, which is a part of Austria. So our region used to be a part of Austria in the past, and 100 years ago it switched sides. And still to this day, there's a strong German-speaking community and a strong influence from the German-speaking building culture. The passive house, the high performance, the heavy timber, the CLT has been all developed throughout starting from this region in the rest of Italy, and has really taken off in Italy. And Rotho Blaas has been an instrumental part in that development in the last 30 years. And myself, in the last 6 years, I have traveled. I do the traveling on your behalf, Mark. I have traveled I've worked in Switzerland, in the UK, and China, Canada, and the US now for the last 2 years. Focus on the US, because as you and the audience know, we are seeing a transformation within the building industry. Need for new technology and need for new solutions, and we see great demand of everything from envelope solutions. Mass timber is taking off. Everything is coming together, falling into place, and we are just trying to keep up with everything, following the market and the needs, and expanding now in over 80 countries worldwide in the last 30 years.
Well, you know what? You're absolutely right. There is a market shift happening right now. There's a lot going on in the market, and that's one of the shows we were talking about coming up in 2 Mondays from now, or Monday from now. So, I mean, Hannes, I think that overall, your success and everything that you've been doing with the company and with the products in mass timber, because there's a huge movement for mass timber right now. Why don't you share with us where you see that headed, and then let's hop into exactly what it is your company is doing with the mass timber.
Well, yeah, I think especially in North America, everything seems to fall into place. We have already a big and very, very, very knowledgeable design community, and engineers, architects, passionate designers, passive house designers, high performance building designers, sustainability conscious, large sustainability conscious group of people throughout the country, but also a huge resource in forests. The codes are coming online, and producers, capital investment. So everything seems to come together, and I find and this perspective has a little changed for me also in the last few months, because I have spent during Corona times, I've spent some time in southern Brazil. I just realized how different the built environment is compared to the US, because here, and I'm calling you from a light frame building here, Hotel Hilton, now here out of Charlotte, North Carolina. But in Brazil, they say you can't build in wood because it's too expensive.
Right.
In the US,
Did you say
you can't build in concrete because it's too expensive.
Did you say live frame building?
Yeah. Timber is like super common. We can build up to 5-story buildings out of light frame timber.
Yeah.
So timber engineers, it's a different type of timber, but still there's a lot of familiarity already there in the timber engineering, and it's not a foreign material. For example, in Brazil, people like they concrete is cheaper than timber because you just don't have the supply chain. You don't have the code. You don't have the experience. You don't have the builders. We have everything ready. It needs some adaptation in the US, but
so Hannes,
ready.
The formwork for the concrete over there, is that not a plywood based formwork?
Yes, but they're super efficient at that, and they don't build they don't build pretty much anything in structural timber. It's not a thing there.
That's a great perspective, the comparison from the concrete market and the timber market with also the understanding of the carbon sequestration versus the carbon disaster, right? And so very specifically, I think what you're pointing on is there's a different learning curve for each region that you're coming into, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you have a lot of friction in project in a country where everything is mostly built out of concrete, and I bet you in most part of the world they could beat any concrete builder in the US easily in efficiency, because that's what they do. They have everything ready, maybe even like a lot of precast also, but they have perfected that process. While I see the US is very much on there's a big supply chain also around timber, and the detailing and everything is obviously different in timber than it is in concrete. So try to find someone that we have to timber. You have construction is a slow moving market. We see a lot of that's on one hand an issue, but it's also I think promising. Because we don't have to, as you just said, Dave, why is it not starting that prefab? We expect sometimes things now, especially in the last few decades, we've seen Nokia going from one of the leaders in the cell phone industry, vanishing within a matter of years. But we cannot expect that kind of speed in an industry that is moving slowly. It's very capital intensive. The decision processes are extremely complex because it's not like a consumer decision where you say, okay, tomorrow I buy an iPhone instead of a Nokia, and you have you have a low risk investment, and no one dies if you make the wrong decision. You just may be maybe unhappy with your phone and then you change it. And we are in a more conservative industry, which is also on one hand good, because we're talking about lives. We're talking about some people's biggest investments that they're doing. So it's a big risk also associated with it. So we have to move slowly, and a lot of startups go into the industry with not enough stamina, and then they expect change within a few years, but that doesn't happen. They have to have enough breath for 6 years to wait for a return.
We break out the family tree, Hannes, because I think you and Dave are actually cousins. You say the same thing. And I love your comment about Nokia, because the last company to enter the cell phone market was iPhone, not the first. So sometimes we win races by learning where other people fell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So let's hop into this, Hannes. Let's hop into some of the products, some of the high-tech solutions that you guys are now offering in mass timber. And why don't you take us on this journey of what you guys are all about and what you're doing.
Yeah, so part of that process of making it more cost competitive, I think in mass timber, and that's also and mass timber and prefab, we're still at the very early beginnings of that, early days, very early days. If we see what we can do, we have every year we have extreme advances in research and development, and every year we see bigger projects, more fascinating projects, stuff that we would have said 10 years ago that's impossible. We see efficiency gains, and if I see someone was just visiting a construction site, a mass timber construction site, and they said their overall project cost was 10% higher than if they went with steel and concrete construction. I think that's fantastic because steel and concrete, we have reached probably a plateau in terms of efficiency gains, or like the marginal gains in efficiency are limited. While with timber, we're right at the beginning. We're in the beginning of the learning curve and the efficiency curve. So if we're still 10% higher, that's great because we can tomorrow be 20% lower. 10%, 20% lower. It's if we realize all these efficiency gains. But throughout the supply chain, and what we do is we maintain relationships with customers and other stakeholders, because to make change happen, you have to involve. Again, it's not like an iPhone where you have a consumer making a decision. It's you have to have the architect on board, the owner, the contractor, the engineer, and they all must be comfortable with the result, and the government, and they all must be comfortable with the result. And you cannot just address one person's concerns, because they all need to buy in. So that's what we actively do. We collect concerns, we identify needs, and then we come back with solutions that address these concerns and needs, and we standardize them, standardized components that people then can plug into their projects. So we are part of the supply chain, that learning curve in the supply chain. Efficient solutions don't have to. We have components that went through a due process in a quality controlled production, have a great track record of other projects where they have been successfully applied, and they're designed for efficiency in production and in performance. And that takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. That shortens the times, the lead times, and speeds up decision-making processes during the project. Shortens lead time, shortens the project planning phase. Digital prefabrication. You can just copy paste products into a BIM model and then have it cut on the CNC, and then everything goes together on site as planned. You don't lose any piece of parts. You don't have all the huge to-do list to keep track of. And we see also some of the biggest projects in the world, if you think about it, are produced by relatively small companies. So we have companies of like 5-10, like offices of 5-10 people. They make great use of that supply chain. They are experts in design. They're like design build experts, and they pull their resources from. They make an efficient project based on their design experience, and then they plug into the supply chain of the timber producers. Then they have a partner timber producer. They have they cut and the timber for them. They have a partner installer. They have a partner hardware producer and supplier. And if you make full use of your supply chain, you can do great things even with a small capital investment. And I mean, that's what also everybody wants. we consult with customers, but we don't do the project. So we help our customers going through the decision making process, because sometimes they ask, I get asked all the time, what's the best connector? Then I always say, if I knew, I would only sell that one. Because I would
Yeah.
just take out all the orders from the catalog. My catalog would be lighter, my luggage would be lighter, and I can have my warehouse space. But
Imagine your company having one SKU.
yeah, exactly.
How wonderful would that be?
Yeah. The fun part is, Hannes, you get to give the famous building science answer. What is the one connector? And then you could say, it depends, right?
It depends. Yeah, exactly. It depends how you look at it. Are you looking, what's the capability of the fabricator? What's the capability of the crew? Do you want to move work off-site or on-site? Do you?
What fasteners do you have access to, right? Without the right fasteners, the connector is worthless.
Yeah. What's your preference? Do you want to have a concealed connector? Do you want to have a exposed connector because you like some more industrial style look? There's so many factors that go into the decision making process that we help to guide that, but it is complex, but someone can learn it.
That's an interesting tangent. It's not in our order of show, but you said, are you making the decision based on how it looks, right? Because mass timber has amazing structural qualities and engineering qualities, but a lot of times it's driven by a team who wants that aesthetic. So those connectors are chosen to create a look, because you don't have, in many cases, the drywall, yada, yada, yada. You have the organic, the industrial, or the clean and the sleek. Very, very, very well put. It's not just the features and the engineering, it's the aesthetic.
Yeah, that too. And a lot of it drives currently the discussion of mass timber. I think that they promote heavily the aesthetics of mass timber. It is beautiful, obviously. It's like beautiful to work with. If you're on a construction side, on a concrete side versus a timber side, it's like concrete side is like you have the concrete that is aggressive, and you have to protect yourself against that. Should protect yourself against the aggressive chemicals. Then you have dirt, you have noise, people. It's not a pleasant environment. And on a timber site, everything is prefabricated. Everything just locks together on site, and you even have a good smell of forest on site. So and if you do it right, you don't need even cutting tools on site. If you prefab everything on the CNC machine.
So Hans, let me ask you. So here I am. I'm a builder. I want to do a mass timber building. I have all these connector choices. Like you said, you help consult on this, because the connectors could be pretty and beautiful, but at the same time, they're still structural. So how do you walk with a client down the path of designing a timber frame building or a hybrid building? Because I'm sure they're not all timber framed. And come up with, will the weight loads work with each connector? Will this work or not work? So I'd be curious your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, we have load tables. So just based on load, we usually have several different options. Then if you go into high loads, then the options narrow down to a couple of items, or even just one connector that can take that load. So then the decision is easy. You don't have a decision, or not much decision. But yeah, most of the time, if we're like in 90% of the cases, we have several different options. And then it's more something about how much is the unit price for the connector. And we have improved on that recently as well. So we've taken that cost factor out with a special production design of one of our concealed connectors. So it's now it's more about aesthetics and prefabrication preferences. That's probably for most of the medium range and small connection, small and medium load requirements, that's what drives the decision. It's aesthetic preference and install and prefabrication requirements, because then we have how much tolerance you need on site.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Well, I love it. So, getting into ramping up the supply chain and how this all moves forward. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So we are currently experiencing. Yeah, we have been in constant growth over the last 30 years. I think we had 1 year of reduced sales. That was in 2011, I believe. That was a hangover from the crisis, from the 2008-2009 crisis. It hit a little later in the wood industry because 2009, I believe it was, the earthquake in Italy, in Aquila, and that really was the start of widespread wood construction adoption in Italy, because of the earthquake resiliency of CLT and heavy timber. That kept us going even during the crisis, and then there was 1 year where we didn't have growth because of that situation as a hangover from that housing bubble. And yeah, since then it's just increasing. And I have an interesting slideshow here, like a couple of pictures to share for you.
All right.
Love pictures. All right.
We're currently easiest in 2 monitors. Let me see.
Well, you're pulling that up, everybody. Listen, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And I know there's some complaints. My video is coming through a little squanky. I'm not sure what's going on, but I do know what's going on. And I'll share that with everybody. What the heck? I have a whole new setup that we just installed yesterday, and I got to up my CPUs. I didn't up it high enough. So this is 2 days in a row. We're trying to get the bandwidth right. Oh, look at that.
What does CPU stand for, Dave?
Certified power
usage.
Upload. I don't know. Certified power upload. There you go. Love it. So, but hopefully my sound is coming through just fine, but you wait till tomorrow morning. It's gonna be much different. All right, Hans, I got it. Let's put it up here.
Is this do you see the presentation or the full screen presentation?
We see the full screen of the looks like your headquarters.
Exactly, that's our headquarters.
How cool is that?
South Tyrol, obviously it's built in timber and glass.
An industrial building built in timber. Now that is something we need to pay attention to, and it happens to be gorgeous.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, we want to walk the talk. So we obviously built our headquarters in timber. We're currently moving nowadays probably 80,000 shipments every year into 80 countries worldwide. So that just shows how the demand for timber construction and heavy timber and passive house is increasing globally. And we publish our literature in 20 languages. And this is the new edition. So this is on top of what you see here. This is currently being built. We're almost doubling our central headquarters by volume to be ready for the ongoing expansion of mass timber. And what we are building here is a 69 feet tall building that will sequester around 6.5 million pounds of CO2 in its structure. As you see, we're building kind of some call it a big Rubik's Cube, because this is a high bay warehouse, but we built it this way because this warehouse will not be serviced by forklifts, but by robots. And here you see the solar panels. We're powering our headquarters with solar panels. These elements are put together here on site and then tilted up. I mean, they're pre-cut. Everything is pre-cut and CNC, but then tilted up, screwed together, and then tilted up. You see the parts of the railing.
I bet I know where those screws come from.
Yeah, me too. From the warehouse right next to it.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so you see also the shelves that support the pallets are all made in timber, and the shelves also are part of the structural system for the roof structure. So it's really like a Rubik's cube.
Look at that.
It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, this is what I love about mass timber. This is what I love about not only just mass timber, but hybrid approaches using mass timber and other building system technologies. Absolutely gorgeous. This is why it is so great and so sustainable.
Yeah, and cost-wise, so planning was obviously, we're pushing here some limits. This has never been done. Something like this has never been done before. So we had to do a little bit more legwork on the design, in the design phase. But in the end, it will come out as we want to show that timber is not only good for office buildings or for residential buildings. It's also great for industrial use and for digital for the future. It's something, it's digitally prefabricated, and then we will have robots running on it. So a digital warehouse, really a material for the 21st century.
Based on the 69 feet, right? So first, that's an engineering challenge because you're moving into boundaries that haven't yet been accomplished. But then, code-wise, is there a set floor height that still needs to be maintained, or does that get altered? Because truly, it's basically shelving for robots. So is there a number of walkable stories inside of that 69 feet?
No, there is nothing walkable in here. This is a digital warehouse.
Purely utilitarian.
Yes.
So, brilliant.
The system will predict what we will also store in here is low turnover items. So the system will know what. So if we don't want to use shelf space for low turnover items, so we store them in here. So the system will know what in the next 2 days will go out in terms of orders, what orders need to be fulfilled, and then it will pull these low turnover items down for picking. And then bring them back into the warehouse without wasting the expensive, like the precious high turnover picking space.
It's a robotic supermarket for mass timber, right?
Exactly.
I feel like this is amazing. Wow. I mean, aesthetically and structurally, it's an accomplishment, but technologically, it is a time saver. Very utilitarian. Love it.
How does it restock itself when it runs low? Like how does it get the material back into the location where the robots go and pick from? Is that a manual process, or do you feed it when the trucks come in and it takes it there and puts it back on the shelf?
Yeah, so the material flow goes from here. This is inbound. The material goes from these trucks into the high bay warehouse, and then it flows into the picking area that is in here. And then it goes outbound traffic is on this side. So material goes like this through the warehouse.
Hannes and Dave, I have to say, I might make an exception. I might actually get on a plane and go videotape with Dave and do a live show with you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Mark, we just hop on the back of some robots and go for a ride with our cameras, right? You just have to watch you don't get your beard caught in something. So, yeah, no, I mean, this is cool. So what's the projected timeline for operations on this?
Should be completed by this summer. It's currently, I think this should be almost done, the structure of this. I think it takes them about a half a year to do this all. And yeah, if you guys, we're always organizing every December a big event. So there's it's like kind of the European Mass Timber Conference in Austria, Innsbruck. Innsbruck is just 1.5 hours from this facility. So what we do is we have people coming over Monday, Tuesday for a mass timber seminar, and then we bring them out to Austria to the conference that is always it's always on the first Wednesday, Thursday, Friday every December, and it's kind of the mecca for mass timber construction. So the year before COVID, we had 85 people from 25 countries and all continents attending that seminar, and then we brought them out to the conference in Innsbruck.
Love it. I love
Wonderful.
it. Why don't we use this as a chance to say hello to a few people? Maybe some of those people that came to visit your facilities are in the audience. So why don't we do that real quick, and then we'll keep going with the presentation. Sound good to you guys?
Perfect.
We got a lot of people out there. You'll be surprised by some of the names, Mark. You'll be happy to see them anyhow. Well, we got Adam White, passive purple in the house. What's up, Mr. Adam White? I hope the goats and kids and wife are all doing well over the pond. And I say goats because they literally walk in his back door of his house. They're family members. We got Buzz Holitzer. Hey, from St. Pete, Florida. Hey, Buzz, guess where I'm at, my friend? You're in St. Pete's. I'm down here in near West Palm Beach at the moment. I think St. Pete's is on the Gulf Coast, so we'll have to connect if you're local. We got Zachary Semke. What's happening? Happy Friday, everyone. Good to see you, Zachary.
Zach, there's a spelling error. Peter got it right. It's Friday with a PH.
Yeah, well, they don't have the BS Friday dictionary yet. We'll have to get one put out to everybody. All right, Peter Molinar. Hey, happy Friday, Peter. Look at all these people, man. We're going to keep going here. We got a bunch to get through. Say hello. 40-something episodes. Wow, keep it going, folks. Andrew Seeley, G-Pods, what's happening? Now,
I have a strange comment, Dave. You did something different this week. You made a long rectangle, squared off portion for the person's picture and their name and the comment. Absolutely stunning. Top notch. David Letterman would be proud.
Perfect. Hey, listen, we got our top 10. He has his top 10.
Yes.
Now get this. We're traveling to Facebook right now. Guess who is on Facebook? I'll give you one guess out of New Hampshire.
Out of New Hampshire?
Yeah. Keene, New Hampshire, to be exact.
I don't.
All right, there it is. Jay. What's happening, Jay Lepley? Great company, very informative, helpful support. Thanks, Hannes. Hey, man, how cool is that?
I'll bet Jay has a catalog on his desk that resembles some of these products.
You think? I bet he does for sure. All right, thanks for joining us, Jay. All right, happy Friday from Cape Town. Sean Foster the first. Thank you for joining us, Sean. Oh, look at this. Last Friday, Diru Taradi. Hey, man, in many countries, they use aluminum forms that are reusable, as even plywood is too expensive. Now, do you know Diru by chance, Hannes?
No, I'm not sure if we ever met.
So
well, he writes some books, and I mean some serious books.
Yeah, he's an urbanist. Diru. He's an urbanist. His books are about 4 to 5 inches thick. They're the only thing bigger than your catalog. And it's interesting what he just said about aluminum, because aluminum is one of the worst for carbon, right? And the whole spectrum. But the reusability of it and the fact that it's lightweight is an interesting number. So if it's done correctly, its lifespan should be replicatable for same building form. So that's a good embodied energy way to look at things for our concrete non-wood market.
Sure, Diru, thanks for joining us, man. It was so great having you on the show as well. We look forward to having you on a future episode, your own show for sure.
One
All
of the
right, we
best
got Andy.
introductions. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
We have Andy Kerr, Spider and Pillar of the Future for high-rise timber buildings. Sorry if you guys are picking up the wind. Just started out of the blue. All right, we have Shannon Pendleton. What's happening, Shannon? Hannes, how do you coordinate during shop drawings to ensure clash detections with other disciplines? Do you all share a model and share that job, or does it happen in different parts of the process?
Wow.
Yeah, so on our side, it's similar to what I touched on earlier. We don't go into the, we're not so much involved in the project side. We help to make the project side more efficient with standardized components. But yeah, I see we have some customers that really embrace digital, and maybe that's also one of the I see some. Yeah, we have some customers that use that embrace BIM a lot and digital modeling, and they share the model throughout the team. But then sometimes the issue is that some industries have different models or different software, because in the timber industry there is some specialized software that speaks well to that makes the design process more efficient, and it speaks with the CNC machines, for example, or just makes the design process much more efficient because it's made for timber. So first thing, yes, we support that by supplying not only spec sheets and product, but also the digital twin, like a BIM model, 3D models for our products that people can plug into their projects. But on the project side, the different stakeholders, how they talk to each other, I don't know in detail, but I think that's, again, it's construction. It's a long process for change to happen. It's not like I don't know, someone starts a new service, Instagram, and like in 2 years everybody's on Instagram because everybody just installs an app. It's like a lot of business software and a lot of processes, very complex stuff that needs to work together. And here, I feel like
I like though that you outline that with the digital twin, so that the application of the timber side, the application of the architect side, the application of the engineer side, and the application of the energy modelers, they can each plug that in from the get-go. That is enlightening, and it's the roadmap for team integration. That digital twin statement, if that's not part of your teamwork and your manufacturer's vocabulary, like it rolled off of Hannes's tongue, you probably are dealing with the wrong team, and you need to bring them back together so that we can all succeed. Brilliant on the digital twin.
Yeah, and also there it's a lot. It's, we have standards that need to be established, and it takes a while for we start out with something right now. Those 3D models are still limited. They might include part numbers, or but in the future we will have engineering values attached to these, and you can just, I think this is still a process that is a little bit out. I could see that in some places, I'm not sure yet about if there's any legislation in the US. But some difference what I see between Europe and the US. I feel like I think Europe and the US have in a lot of places different approaches, but I wouldn't say one is better or worse than the other. Like the electric car, we probably see a faster adoption in Europe in the next few years because there's government-imposed restrictions that will force people to do it. But it was the US side that brought the Tesla out and really rolled out a charging network and put pressure on European manufacturers. And it was the EPA that blew up Volkswagen with their diesel scandal, and not the Europeans. So I think there's a lot of cross-pollination going on between Europe and US. I think we can learn a lot from Europe. Europe can learn a lot from the US, and it's just great things that happen. For example, we have here.
Let me. So before you go into, let me just put up Todd, because this kind of ties into what you've been talking about, and I want to give him his credit for writing this. So he's talking about this a little bit. Having visited the Rotho Blaas headquarters a few times in how do you say it? Cortacia?
Cortacia, yes.
Cortacia. The product development and innovation culture is evident and critical to accelerate market adoption of mass timber assemblies. In the U.S., we overemphasize project-level creativity with architects and engineers rather than drive innovation in products and supply chains like Rothoblaas. So, when we're talking about, you were just talking about similarities and differences between Europe and the U.S., I wanted to throw this comment in because Todd took the time to write it, but it's tying in a little bit about what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's we see, it's like Autodesk is a super innovative company, and they have, for example, they have a lot of software for the general design, but then we have like other companies like Catwork, SEMA, and Dietrich and HSB Cat that are coming from the European side with the specialized wood construction softwares. On the other hand, in Europe, there's like top-down pressure from the government that projects of a certain size have to be made in BIM. They have to be planned in 3D. So there's this top-down push, and I think some top-down push could be beneficial. At the other hand, in the US, it's a lot of bottom-up. And that is really fast because people are innovative. People are thinking sustainably, even if the government is not. But we still see similar movements like in Europe. They're just coming from a different side, which I find extremely interesting.
The BIM is so incredible because it allows the craftsmen and the tradespeople to visually see what they're going to unfold, what they usually worked in their mind, right? And the other part that we've all experienced in commercial and industrial construction is you're done with the project, and now the drawing has to receive an as-built because it was not done precisely, certainly how the engineering or architecture was done. It's the as-built. So now with the BIM process, if the as-built happens, right, now we're moving with a mouse. We're not remeasuring and starting, and those cameras they have nowadays that talk back to the BIM for the as built. I'm sure you know what those are. There's 4 or 5 companies doing that. That's just brilliant, right? Because we will be adapting those buildings again for future uses, and that BIM as built is perfect. So are cold connections that you guys have, so you can alter the building real easily.
That is right.
Very cool.
I have here one last slide that I think you will also like. So you saw that existing facade here. We have to tear that down, unfortunately, for the new building. But we try to make good use of it, and that's also another beauty of timber. We will cut it up and we will ship it down to Chile, where we will reclaim it and build another warehouse facility in Santiago or near Santiago.
Can we put that on a big barge? I'm really good with a paddle, and Dave can record it, and I'll bring it right over the waterways. It'll be low operational carbon. That story, you shared that with me before.
After riding the robot.
Well, after riding the robot. So the other brilliant part about the story is it's the fact that the way the building was designed, it's capable of being deconstructed and reused, right? Because of the connections and how it goes. It's not like you have to sacrifice portions of it. It's the design intent went well beyond this life and creates another life. And my guess is, 3 years from now, when we're having a sandwich somewhere in one of the cities you're traveling, you'll be telling us about another component that ended up relocating to a new added use in a new continent or a new municipality or new region. And that is cradle to cradle, but even better because it's truly reused, even better than cradle to cradle. Love that.
Yeah. And is that also going to be the future, Mark? We talk about this all the time. If we're going to build something new today, are we building something that can be reused tomorrow? Right? That's kind of the question. So as we're designing today, if we're architects, engineers, whatever the case is out there, whether you're building it on paper or digital twins and BIM modeling, is it possible moving forward to build with the future in mind and build sustainable buildings, just like you guys are doing, that can be taken apart? Is this the home of the future or the building of the future?
Hannes, you probably know Peter Moonen out of Canada, right? Another wood enthusiast, right? We're a pretty small bubble making a pretty large impact with very small carbon. And Dave, he preaches just that. He's like, I've spent my entire career fostering what's going on in the timber industry, and often part and parceling it from different continents so that that is shared. But that's one of the things that he's fostering today is the component and product reuse so that a building happens, a building unhappens, and a building rehappens. And this story, Hannes, uh, you know, CNN, all those folks out there, if they're not picking up this story, they're spending too much time talking about emotions, because this is real thinking. This is real thinking, and good luck doing that with a wall panel out of concrete. I'd like to see that be moved over to Chile, right?
Yeah, I think we have reached a point where we need to have better solutions, more sustainable solutions, extend the useful life of buildings, have new technology. I think at the end of this decade or the next, I mean, it's hard to make predictions. By today, we should all be driving already self-driving cars. If we were if we were thinking about 5 years ago, but that didn't happen. But I think in the end of this decade or next, we will move differently with different cars. We will live different. We will eat different. It's just it's an economic problem. We don't have the scalability. Our existing solutions are not scalable to accommodate the ongoing growth of the population. And there's so many people that are still living in poverty in many continents, and to improve everybody's livelihoods, we have to have a society that has solutions that are scalable. And we have reached a point where we can't do it any further with what we have. We're running even out of sand, sand for concrete. And have illegal sand mining because it's hard to get by the stuff they need. So we have reached a point where we need new solutions.
Yes.
Yeah. Can't just go to the beach and collect as much sand as you want anymore, huh? You know, it is true though. I mean, because sand, just everybody knows, right? We use sand to build windows. It's for glass too. It's just not concrete. I don't think people out there really understand how much sand is actually used, to do so many products. Who would have thought that you could use sand to build glass and see through it?
That's just I tell you what, take any building built downtown anywhere the last 10 years and tell me if they've added more glazing. Right? We have these glass facades everywhere, and it is all sand based. So we've made it through a portion here, just to redirect, because some people in the audience are in need of learning some other portions. I'm wondering if I can redirect to the site moisture and water mitigation, if we could go that route. And Dave, I'm pulling an audible, but I'm pretty sure, Hannes, that we're going to have a part 2 and maybe a part 3, because there's a couple portions in our conversations that we'll need to get to, but I also want you not to have to shortcut it, because your experience and depth is worth sharing for everyone. So
Yeah, I agree.
I'll be quiet and give you the microphone, brother.
Okay, yeah, site moisture and water mitigation. Yeah, that's a currently we see it all the time. We try to educate people about it because we're pushing new limits with timber. I mean, limits. What is a limit? It's a limit is something that you can achieve within your current capabilities. But innovation allows us to overcome our our constraints. We can, like, okay, there's wind outside. With innovation, we can tap into the energy of wind, building wind farms. So we can unlock new potential, and that's happening also with timber construction. So new technology just unlocks new potential, new resources, or let's say something that has not been useful to us. We can turn it into a resource, like wind or timber. We can turn it into a resource to make to become a solution. So I mean, the first tall wood building was probably the Stadthaus Murray Grove in London, 2008, 8 stories. Then we have seen just an escalation of taller projects. Even they're getting bigger and bigger. We have now the 25-story up in Milwaukee, and there's talks about there's pretty concrete plans about 40 stories, 40-story project. So we're pushing the limits, like not the limits. We don't know where the limit is. We're just getting into new territory, and new territory brings also uncovers also new issues. And I think one of the issue is site and water mitigation. And people think they, like with light frame, they can work like with a light frame with mass timber like they do with light frame, but light frame is smaller dimension, so the amount of water that can be absorbed is limited. But if you have a 6-7 inch thick panel, that can absorb quite some moisture, can also expand quite a bit. If it wets like deep into the timber, it takes a while to dry, or a long time to dry. So you can you can lose your benefit of a fast and rapid construction method if you don't waterproof it. I was on a construction site, a 5-story construction site, no waterproofing. It didn't rain for like 6-7 hours. When I got into the project, the ground floor was still like raining because the water is slowly trickling from floor to floor throughout the building. I was in the Pacific Northwest in winter, so it was it just absorbs a ton of moisture that you then have to get out before you put your finish on and everything. So it just delays everything and makes it much more like that's add a lot of cost to it. While or we go back, we tell people, okay, guys, you have to watch out, put membrane down, depending on where you are. There's not one best solution for waterproofing. Some people built an additional structure on top of the building. So they built the building in dry condition, basically. Is that the solution? Probably not, because at some point you spend a lot of money, but if you're does it really make sense? Depends where you are. Depends on the location, on your schedule, on the size of the building, and also on the time of the year. If you're in winter and summer, is it hot? Is it cold? Is it humid? Is it dry? Is it raining all the time or not? So there's not one single, like with connectors, there's not one single best solution. So what we do is we mitigate the risk, because at some point you have reducing return on investment, because you can probably building a complete structure outside your project is not sustainable for every project. So you mitigate it based on the project needs, and then we tell that people, and then people don't want to spend the money for a waterproofing membrane or some tape for taping the splines. And we come back a few weeks later and we see structural problems. We see wet timber. We see extremely wet timber. We see, and that happens then all the time, like screws popping, because when the timber wants to move, the timber will move. Something has to yield. And then if it's not the timber that yields, the timber will not yield. It's in the connection somewhere, and then the plate will not yield because it's a thick metal plate. So what will happen is either the screw pulls out, and or the head pops off the screw. Then who do they call? The manufacturer of the screw.
But isn't Hannes, I just want to jump in here because I this is a common thing no matter what industry you're in. And it's the lack of understanding and the lack of education when it comes to construction. To me, it makes no sense that people would decide not to use any type of waterproofing or membrane when it comes to wood. Is that the lack of skilled labor? Is that just old school thinking? Like, what's happening out there that we're not educating the trades and the people that are putting these projects together to me, that just feels like common knowledge, maybe because we're talking about it all the time, but it just makes sense to me. And it's no different than we put all these hurricane clips and straps on everything on the coast. Well, you know what? Yeah, they're going to be there, but the wood structure is not going to be there once the hurricane rips it apart. So I'm just curious on how does it get to that point,
I think sometimes, Dave, the flaw in this is the construction system is truly not the tradespeople and the craftsmen or the manufacturers. They do an amazing job of working together. But oftentimes when the project kicks off, that's influenced by the plan, permit, and financing. So the project could have been staged for the optimum weather conditions. We know basic weather patterns. It could have been staged for it, right? For a nice summer build, right? Do the footings in the spring, build through the summer, and get it all sealed up for finishes in the winter. But then if that planning stage and if that finance stage, or if a change happened at the wrong point, now the building begins in late November, right? And they're wondering why all this stuff is going sideways. Well, the optimum conditions quoted and planned and scheduled for changed. That's not the manufacturer. That's not the tradespeople. It's not the craftsmen. Now there's a lot more time, energy, and resources needed for the same project to be done the same way. So if we controlled the industry, that plan, permit, and financing would not be the impairment, because the deciding factor is our unity and what we know is best for conditions. Is that an interesting way to look at it?
Yeah, no, I get all of that admin stuff that makes things go to the wayside, and maybe it wasn't planned for in the beginning, but it happens all too often. And my kind of point to this is, let's just plan for it. We should protect this material regardless for now and in the future. So if we know these contingencies happen, and it happens a lot, if we know that, we're just going to build the minimum code, like I think we can just plan some of these things in up front to avoid some of these things. When you get into these mass timber buildings, you're spending a ton of money to begin with on a lot of these. They're just, look at them. They're pieces of artwork. You would think that they would put the planning in up front. But that's just my 2 cents. And I get it. And a lot of tradesmen know this, but you're right. They do their job. They walk off the job, and all of a sudden everything came to a halt for 10 months. And now it's the winter rainy season and everything goes to crap. But that's just my 2 cents.
Think about the tradespeople that will be working at your facility while they remove the panels and while they transport the panels to Chile. I think there's going to be some incredible learning from the industry from that process, right? Because these are pieces of art, pieces of engineering feats, and pieces of reuse. There's some education that's going to come out of this effort that you guys are yielding. And I think you're going to have some jaws dropped and some real inspiration that will point to this and say, this is how it can be done. It's a teaching moment.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Yeah. I think it's also like we see it all the time in acoustics, and also like building science and waterproofing, moisture mitigation. people try to cut corners, and then it's easy to do it on that because they point to some past best practices or like some code, but we know that the code is in many ways not ideal, let's say, and we know there will be a problem down the road. But they say, no, it's in the code, it's okay, we can do it. But if you just make this like put in a little bit of better product, or just watch out the way you do it. If you do it a little bit better, it doesn't cost you much more. Or like think about your detailing, that could like double the useful life of your investment. And put in more durable materials. It's not like it's a small additional investment, but people try to cut corners there because, for example, in engineering with our structural products, we always assume like the worst. We have like safety factors, like after the connect. So we make we are conservative in the production. So we have the values that we specify are already on the low side. We know that it will always do more than that. Then on the project side, they put additional safety factors in. So it's factored because lives are at risk. With acoustics and building physics, it's like, can we save a little bit there and save a little bit there? Because in the end, nobody will die immediately. It's just you have maybe to tear down your facade after 20 years, which is not nice. But at that very moment, they say, no, this is too expensive. We can't do it this way. But they're not looking at the full cost of ownership. They look at the full cost of ownership. They say, this is cheap. This is actually negative cost because it will maintain my investment further down the road.
It's a transformational way of thinking. Are we building for budget to get it done and replace it in 20, 30, 40 years? Or are we building for the handoff so that the next person gets to enjoy a building, not, all they have to do then is pick out paint colors and what their furniture is, not the structure, right? They're not dependent on the structure, provided the durability factor has been maintained, right? Not everything is going to last forever. So brilliant. Dave, we're at an hour
and 10 minutes already.
15 minutes, brother.
Yeah, I know it. We got to get through some comments. Hannes, you have a few minutes, or you got to run?
Yeah, sure. No, we can look at some comments.
Yeah, let's get through definitely some comments because they've been loading in here. So Andy Kerr is with us, says the new house is something special. Thank you for joining us, Andy. All right, Indrismat. I think that's how you said it. Indrismat. Hi, Hannes. We are startup partnering with Rotho Blaas SRL in a European project. We produce pure window frames similar to timber and will require fixing accessories and screws, especially designed. So there you go.
That's Pablo. I'm sure you probably know Pablo, right, Hannes? Great guy. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Andrew Seeley says robotic supermarket for mass timber. Love it. All right. Zachary's in there. D. Rue says hello. No, he said that he doesn't believe you met. However, he is a huge fan of mass timber. Love it.
That's because his books are the size of mass timber.
They are the size of mass timber. All right, Peter Molinar. I can write CNC G code programs and create tool paths to make finished products. Love it.
Okay.
Hey, thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Peter.
All right, so we have a LinkedIn user. Good to see Rotho Blaas and Hannes succeeding and growing into North America. Their culture of innovation is second to none. Really nice place in Cortasia as well. Love it.
We have a lot of good wine there for the wine connoisseurs here.
Love the wine. Well, we're on our way. Mark's gonna make his maiden voyage over there to see this factory, and then he's also gonna take that ship down to South America. But we're gonna add a level of fun to that trip, Mark. We're gonna, as you're sailing it, we're gonna do it during hurricane season. What the hell?
I tell you what, my next trip to South America is one way. I'm not leaving once I get there.
Hey, Mark, I bought a red and white VW bus in Brazil. You can drive that up to the US for me.
I love it.
So we have a round trip already planned.
You showed me the map where that road connects. I've done the road through Central America into South America before. That's an interesting road.
Yeah, I bet. And it's a long road.
All right.
Chiapas at the Guatemala border. I've got some stories for you.
No, not on this show, Mark. This is PG rated today. We're talking about mass timber, not mass destruction. All right. Steve Thurber says, great work, Hannes. Congrats on your success. And then Scott Furbin. Hey, Scott, this may have been already discussed, but when can we expect to see mass timber manufacturers in the U.S. so that we don't need to ship from Canada or Europe?
Yeah, there's already a few, quite a few North American producers. So they're Nordic in Canada, Element 5 in Canada, working my way down, Kalashnikov in Canada, and Structurelam also up in Canada. Then in the US, we have SmartLam, several producers. Structurelam has now or is building an Arkansas plant. SmartLam has 2 plants on the southeast and one in the northwest, and Freres MPP. Then Sterling Timber. Sterling Timber is probably the biggest, or maybe it's one of the biggest, or they call themselves the biggest CLT manufacturer that no one knows about. So I visited their plant. They're really impressive. They stamp a panel every 40 seconds in their Chicago plant.
Wow. Yeah, I thought that Sterling only made it for the pathways. They're also making it for the vertical integration now.
They announced that they're pursuing also PRG 320 certification for use in structural projects.
Yeah, I've been to that facility. Good people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Perfect. Yeah, so there's supply coming online. So, and there's already supply. So there's a lot of stuff moving.
Yeah, and we have a lot of them coming up in our show, so you guys will be able to learn a lot more about mass timber here on the Dave Cooper Live Show. All right, continuing on, Shannon is asking, Shannon Pendleton, love the products and the factory. Thanks for the virtual tour. Do you partner with other companies to create wood fiber products with any waste that's produced?
I'm not sure if you're referring to our warehouse. Because I'm not sure if we're here. We are not doing any timber components. We are only doing like purely envelopes, membranes, acoustic products, fasteners, connectors, tools. So we are not ourselves processing timber or fabricating timber. We have everything but the timber. So all the supporting components, all the complementary solutions. So we don't have a really fiber waste that we're reusing.
That's right. You have all the elements involved in the timber thing, but then your warehouses are achievements to not only support your company, but to foster the growth in the industry by proving what is out there, right? A lot of times our industry just needs to see an example. And then, as you said, there's no limit once you see where other people have gone. And that innovation, I hope, gets fostered by more governments and more regions, so that more timber companies abound and can use the systems and solutions you create.
Love it. All right, last comment we're going to be in. It's actually from Jennifer. What's happening, Jennifer? Mark, she says, part 2 can also include bringing the beauty into building science with mass timber. Seems like most would agree. Rotho Blaas SRL headquarters is a work of art, and I agree with that. It is. It's gorgeous, man. I wouldn't want to show up there every day. Mark, I want a headquarters like that. I can see it now.
I think I'm going to forego my ticket to go over there. Dave, you and Jennifer could go meet with Hannes in December for the conference, and I'll wait for the trip to South America and ride in the van.
You know what, dude? You'd be the coolest beardest man in a Volkswagen that we've seen since probably the 60s.
I don't know about that, but it'd be interesting. Ya nos vamos de volada,
I, I love it. So Hans, here we go, man. We're at an hour and 20 minutes. Tell us. I know we didn't get through everything, and that happens typically on this show, especially when we have so many people commenting. Is there anything that you want to personally part with the audience today? What should they know? Why don't you share with us what if we didn't get to something that you think super important that should be shared? Let's share it right now.
No, I think just again my point. I think we have a great. We have everything in place now in the US. Everything seems to come together. We have great engineers, great architects. We have people that want to do. They see the need for better buildings, new solutions, and I think in the next few years it all will come together, and we'll see. We're living through a historic moment as a society in the next 30 years. We will look back and say like it was, why did we ever do it differently?
That's right. And I think the momentum of these past years will help carry us, and the goal of these 2030 goals and these 2050 goals to unify people, to create the healthy, comfortable, enjoyable structures together for our community is amazing. And the inspiration and the technology and the foresight that you guys bring is wonderful. Bless your hearts for all you do.
Yeah, very much so. And in the comments, Jen's putting some other show notes up. I think it's worth sharing real quick. We have Element 5 on the show Wednesday, March 17th. So that's going to be a great show. And also on the Monday, 1 p.m. Oh, we got Aaron Fruman. Uncommon Construction so this is cool, guys. Uses the building process, empower youth with the skills, network resources, and experience to lead the workforce. Mark, you want to know what's super cool about this? This is somebody that has taken the youth, that typically don't have the same opportunities as others. They build a house together. They sell the house. The proceeds of that house is what's paying for their education. They do it over and over and over again. How cool is that?
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy. Very, very close-minded to our friends Steve and Colleen, right, who are just down from Blue Earth Deconstruction. They're doing great work up there. So again, it's a part of our community, fostering our knowledge and our gifts with the rest of our community. And we're blessed that the construction community is the one prepping for this, right? And no more drywall, right? We want beautiful wood, enjoyed. As you said earlier, Hannes, you're in these buildings, and not only do they look better, but they smell better, right? And we all know what smelling worse is. We all know what being more uncomfortable is. We all know what being unsafe is. Now we're experiencing the joy. Bless your heart.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Mark, give me next time longer heads up. Then I will try to match your beard. They give me too little notice.
Now there's a challenge. 1 year from now, we're going to come back on the show and see if we can match Mark's beard.
I think with all the traveling you do, Hannes, I'm surprised you have time to shave. But it was great to have you on. Can't wait to have you back. And tomorrow, for everyone out there, jump on the line. Dave Cooper Live is going to have coffee waiting. And right. What's coming up on Monday, Dave?
This Monday, what do we have coming up? Well, we were just talking about it. Monday, 1 p.m. Aaron Furman. We're talking Uncommon Construction is coming up on this Monday. The following Monday is Jerry McCahey, right? Greg Ugaldi, Henry Mickelberg. I don't know. There's not going to be enough room, dude. I'm gonna have to take some Valium for this one.
I want to add one thing to the chat, Jennifer. If you're still on there, there's 10 days left for www.wallassembly.com, a student-only competition. And the funny thing about that is, if I were to ask Dave or Hannes or anyone in the crowd, last 3 weeks ago, if you thought the website domain wallassembly.com was still available, you would bet me $1 million it wasn't. But a month ago, a friend of ours from Toronto got it and created the second annual competition for students to explore building science and win money to go on and get certified in the trades. So keep passing it along. See you guys on Saturday morning. Hannes, have a blessed weekend,
Thank
brother.
you. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Good
All right,
talking
love
to
it,
you.
guys. Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, Hannes. Thanks, everybody, for
weekend.
joining us. Hang tight, Hannes. We'll come back to you after the outro. Everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m.-ish for Coffee with Dave, and we're going to talk about all the great things that have recently happened and what's going to happen in the future. Everybody else, you have a wonderful day, and be sure to follow Hannes on LinkedIn. And if you're not following Mark Bare Naked Willie, well, then you're wrong. Follow him. We'll see you next time. Bye now.